So, for those who haven't seen me channel before, just to let you know a little bit about the guides that I work with, this collective is a group of about 2,500 beings of light. They don't have physical form, and they actually work with tone and sound, which is why their dialect is different than my own. It's really not any one particular dialect. They're open vowels where they can modulate the frequencies. So, in addition to getting the information, it is as if you're getting a healing today. So, you want to make sure you drink plenty of water over the next several days just to help to move the energy through the body. So, I'm going to get out of the way and we'll see where we go here. Yes, hello, dears. This is the Ninth Dimensional Pleiadian Collective, and it is a pleasure and an honor to have the opportunity to once again connect with you all. So, really, here today, we just want to talk about some basics because a lot of times it's about coming back to the simple things in life that really keep you centered, it keeps you present, and it keeps you empowered. And with everything that's currently going on the planet, you need to make sure that you have your basics in place. You need a practice for yourself where you are constantly coming back to the moment, because it's very easy for you all to get distracted, to be triggered and activated by the people and the situations around you. And if you find yourself being activated, great, that's where the gold is. Because if you notice that you are triggered in some way, that you're experiencing one of the lower emotions, that shows you that either consciously or subconsciously, there is a program, a belief in place that you are running, that you are expressing, that is not an expression of your divine light. It is somehow aligned with the frequencies of lack, limitation, and separation. So, as you are able to perceive that as an energy that's running, you can also shift it. So, when you come across a situation or scenario that you find upsetting, one, notice your response, what gets triggered and activated within you. And if you have time to reflect on it in that moment, then you can. But, it's not always the case. You might be at work and it may not be an appropriate time for you to really assess. Make sure you're doing it at the end of the day, that you are taking time to notice the energies that have come up within you and that need to perhaps be addressed in order for you to start living or expressing yourself at a higher level. So, if you find that you've had a challenging situation, it's there to point that energy out, that there is one of those lower programs, one of those lower beliefs that doesn't express your divine light. And that's a gift for you to have that knowledge and that awareness. And when you see how that challenging situation serves you in that way, you stand back in your power. Because otherwise, as humans, you have a tendency to feel victimized by reality, that somehow this horrible thing happened and you're a victim to reality. But if you can perceive it as an opportunity for you to grow, for you to recognize how you're reacting in a situation, then you can level up very, very quickly. That doesn't mean that you're to blame for what is being created in front of you. You do create 100% of your reality. You are co-creating with source energy, but that's not to beat yourself up and to blame yourself for something you may have created. Sometimes you will have a challenging situation so that you can learn a lesson, perhaps of deeper compassion, or to recognize strength that you have within yourself that you may not be giving yourself credit for. There is always a gift in every single moment that you experience. You just have to look for it. You just have to see how every single moment teaches you how you are expressing or suppressing your divine light. Or, if you're suppressing it, it's showing you there's more divine light, there's more happiness, more joy, more love, more appreciation, more gratitude for you to experience in life. And you can align with that. So, it is really important for you all right now to stand in your power, to choose the frequencies that you want to see reflected back to you as your reality. Because as we said, you're creating 100% of it. Most of it's happening at the subconscious level. You're reacting to the world around you. And with so much chaos going on right now, You really don't want to be in that reactive position. You want to be deciding the frequencies first that you want to experience. You choose it energetically, internally, and then it gets pulsed out, and then it gets reflected back to you. You perceive it, you engage with it. That's the process of manifestation in the simplest form. All right. There is a movement of the internal first to a frequency, and then there's the expression of that. And then as you perceive it on the outside, you're receiving that as a reflection, and then you're engaging with it. There is a movement, and you can think about it as the infinity sign. All right, that there is a constant, infinite loop that you move through, moving from the feminine to the masculine, to the feminine to the masculine, from the internal first to the external version of that. So you're constantly moving this energy. And when you decide how you want to feel first, maybe today you want to experience peace. What would it feel like in your body to experience peace? You give yourself permission to just explore that for a few minutes. That allows you to start pulsing it out. And then as you go through your day, you can check in. Am I aligned with the frequency of peace? Not so much right now. All right. My boss just really upset me. He told me, I needed to do something else. He's adding to my plate. So then you can decide once again to embody that frequency. What would it feel like? So you reset yourself. This is your practice, that you keep coming back to the frequencies that you want to see reflected back. And what will happen is that as you start to live in this space, you will perceive outside of yourself more experiences of peace, be that within yourself and how you encounter the world, or you will see other people behaving that way. But if you're in stress and worry and angst, that's what you're going to see in the reflection back. You will see yourself in situations where that is the frequency that you're aligned with, or you will see other people in that same stressed out, angst-filled state. You can only perceive that which is of matching resonance for your consciousness. So where are you going to be vibrating? What selection are you going to make? Now, none of you are going to go to the highest frequency and stay there. You are going to go up, you'll drop out. You'll go up, you'll drop out. That's just the nature of things. Think about going to the gym. When you first go and you're trying to strengthen yourself, you have to go repeatedly and you build up that strength. And it's the same thing vibrationally in maintenance of frequency. You go up, and hopefully every time you go up, you go a little higher and you stay there a little longer. And when you drop out, you don't drop as far, and you recognize that you've dropped out faster. So be kind to yourselves, and all of you are going to have these experiences that at one level seem like a challenge, but in the process of manifestation, as you are creating that challenge, you've also created the opposite side of the coin, so to speak. You have created its polar opposite. You've created the solution energy. It's just in a different vibrational range. And if you didn't have any challenges in life, life would be very boring. So you thought, all right, let's create these challenges and see if we can find the solutions. It's a bit like an Easter egg hunt. All right. But it's all about the frequency and the vibration that you're holding, which will allow you to perceive that. When you go back to the heart-centered space, when you think about something that makes you smile, when you allow yourself to feel gratitude, appreciation, compassion, those frequencies will bring you back to the now moment. And it is when you are in the heart center that you have access to multidimensional information. You can see and perceive the solution energy. When you're in fear, doubt, worry, shame, blame, all the lower resonances, you are operating from the ego mind. The ego mind is not real. It is simply programs of lack, limitation, and separation. And it was part of the setup for this game. In order to play down here, you needed some challenge was created for that. But it isn't the truth of who you are. When you go to the heart-centered space, you are your soul's essence. All right. A spark of the divine exists within you. It is never diminished. You cover up this beautiful light with these programs, these false beliefs of lack, limitation, and separation. And that is what, as you are perceiving yourself as in the reflection all right, as reality is reflected back to you, it is reflecting back those programs that are covering up that light so that you can perceive that they're there in the first place, and then you can drop them. And then as you start to drop them, so to speak, we call it integration, as you begin to release these programs, then that light shines brighter and brighter and brighter. And then you see that bright light reflected back to you in the things that you create and the experiences that you have in the world. So in these chaotic times, we really recommend that you create a practice for yourself where you are choosing the frequencies that you want. Before the feet hit the floor in the morning, make a decision. What is the one or two frequencies that you would like to experience for the day? And we say one or two, no more than that, because otherwise it's very difficult for you to notice the subtle energy. There are too many things that are that you're trying to look out for, and you might miss it because we're working with subtle energy here. And that means that it requires some directed focus from you. So too many things, it gets a bit diluted, your focus. So one or two, stay with it for a day or two, maybe a week, and then you can move on to a new frequency as you start to see what you want reflected back to you. You can move on to something new. All right. So that's our 2 cents here at the beginning. We just want to put that out there for you because there's going to be a lot going on the planet the next 16 months. A lot of changes, a lot of shifts, and it can stir up a lot of old fear programs that need to be integrated. Beliefs that you may be carrying over from other lifetimes, from genetic line programming. It doesn't really matter where that source is. You're running it here and now, and that's where all of your power lies, clearing it in the here and the now. So, as these challenging things get triggered and activated for the collective, it can be easy for you to plug in. But if you are choosing the frequency and you are focused on the frequency that you want to experience and you keep coming back to it, you're not going to be as swayed by the collective energy. You can stand in peace in the midst of chaos. You can have abundance when the collective story might be, oh no, things are challenging, they're hard. All right, you are creating your reality, and you can experience expansion and growth and health and well-being regardless of what the collective may be going through. You are here to be a way shower of what is possible, and you will inspire others as you yourself stand in your power and stand in your light. All right, dear. So we would like, as we get to the end of our conversation, to do a language of light activation to help everybody to come back to their center and to open their intuition so that they may better hear themselves, hear their guides, receive messages from source, that they are able to stay in their heart center a little easier. But we'll do that, and we'll talk about what that is exactly as we get towards the end. But we just wanted to throw that out there for now. So, dear, is there anything special you would like to talk with us about?
That's like asking a 2-year-old to stop asking why.
We like why questions.
Thank you. First of all, I loved when you said peace in the midst of chaos. That's very profound. And, I'm on the shamanic path. And when I open sacred ceremony, that's one of the many things that I bring into that excuse me, is that we emulate, we bring in the spirit of the hummingbird, because that's exactly what it does. It knows to drink of the sweet nectar of life, and it stays still amidst the chaos. And that's what I hear you talking about. So I want to ask you a question, if I may.
Yes.
And put that together with what you alluded to. The next 16 months, a lot of change and shifts. Can you be more specific about them? And then can you tie them in to how we might consciously, awarely be the hummingbird throughout that experience?
So, as we were saying, just having a practice for yourself and deciding the frequencies that you want to embody, that you want to experience as your reality. That's the way through all of this change and challenge. And then also to give yourself permission to really look at those programs of lack, limitation, and separation that you might become aware of. Because as you become aware of them, you can release your judgment. The process of integration is the releasing of judgment. You exist in a polarized universe. Everything has its polar opposite. It's dualistic in nature. And the higher you go in dimension, the closer together these polarities are. So where you are here, there's, well, and in Earth in particular, positive and negative poles are really far apart. So it would be like having black, white, and 1,000 shades of gray in between. Where we are in the ninth dimension, it's like black, white, and 2 or 3 shades of gray. All right, they're pretty close together. And when you are going through this game of ascension, what you're trying to do is to have less polarity. You're trying to bring everything back into wholeness. You're integrating everything into your awareness of the one. And the way that you do that is to release judgment. So some of you will struggle as you are judging something as being good, bad, right, or wrong. You might want to manifest something special for yourself, but in the process of holding that desire for that thing that you want, you have a lot of judgment about its polar opposite. I want this positive thing because I really don't like this negative thing and I want to avoid it at all costs. The universe knows that you're holding judgment. That thing that you don't like is part of source energy. Even the dark is part of source energy. So when you want to make it separate from yourself, in the process of manifestation, you're going to keep manifesting it because the universe is trying to show you that it's there in your energetic field. You might be asking for something up here, but the universe says, yes, that's great, but you're holding this lower resonance down here. And until you let go of that judgment and you integrate it back into your perception of the totality of existence, you are going to get this reflection to see that that program's there. So this is often why people, even though they say they want something positive, keep getting the negative aspect of it. When you can accept it as being a valid exploration of frequency, it doesn't mean that your energy has to go and explore that. It doesn't mean that you want to condone that exploration. You know, there's some pretty unfortunate things that happen on your planet. It's not that you're condoning it, but it is still an expression of source. It has been created. Source is all that is. Even the dark is part of source. It is just a fraction of the expression of source. But it is important for you all to understand this as you start to see more of what has been created at the lower end of the spectrum in your reality, and more of that is going to start coming out over the next 16 months. So it's going to require you for even within yourself, how you are expressing some of those lower beliefs. Maybe on the surface, it looks very different. On the surface, the mask that frequency wears might look different. Let us give you an example. For control, maybe in a relationship, there is somebody experiencing an abusive relationship where one of the parties is trying to control and manipulate the other. It's very dark. It's very heavy. Someone else may be expressing the same frequency of control, but in their reality, the way that they do it is through trying to control and manipulate so that every single item is accounted for in their day, that they are trying to sway people to their perceptions so they can get things done exactly in the way that they think it needs to happen. And it seems pretty mild in comparison to how someone else may be experiencing that control factor. The bottom line is energetically, those are the same issue. All right. It's control and manipulation. They go hand in hand. So as you deal with it within yourself, as you perceive some of the things that are going on your planet that are less than savory, look to see, is there some place that you play out that frequency, maybe in a minor way? And that will help you to grow and also to extend compassion to all those involved in the expression of it in its heavier form. And know that all those who are expressing some of the lower end of the spectrum experiences, who are having that, they also are very wounded. And as you are trying to go through this ascension process, it is important for you to express appreciation and gratitude for all those people on both ends of the spectrum. Sometimes those beings are playing those dastardly roles, shall we say, to help you so that you can play the positive end, but also, you can learn through their experience without having to walk that path. You can learn by virtue of observation, and you can have gratitude for that your life didn't have to look like that, and that your life may be in some ways, quote unquote, easier. And you can simply have appreciation for that aspect of it. But that appreciation and gratitude will free you and liberate you, because you are bringing that back into inclusion, into the totality, into your perception of all life, all experiences as being one with all that is. So this is going to be important over the next 16 months, because it can be very easy for you all to start playing the blame game, blaming this group over here, that group over here. If that group is triggering you or has created something, you benefit from that creation. And as you have appreciation for that, instead of feeling victimized by what that other group did, you can feel empowered and take the knowledge and wisdom and grow very quickly. And as we said, this will help you level up very quickly. The next 16 months are going to be very, very interesting, because honestly, we're not sure how you're going to roll all of this out. You are in a phase right now where you are observing what has been created. You're seeing what works for you all and what doesn't work for you all. Mainly what isn't working. You're seeing where things are broken. And part of this is because your perception of time has been compressed. All of you feel like you get up. And for those of you who are a bit older, you might think about the things that you experienced in a 24-hour period. Now you're getting it in about a 4-hour period. And part of that has to do with the internet and the amount of data and information coming in. But you used to get that over 24 hours. Now you get that same amount of information in about 4, and that makes your day feel like it's being compressed. And so you feel like time is speeding up. And it can feel overwhelming. We also want you, if you're feeling overwhelmed, to ground yourself and come back to your heart center. And in that space, you can kind of manipulate time a little bit. But the beautiful thing about seeing this, everything being compressed, is that things become obvious. Patterns become obvious, because you're seeing the repetition of things more frequently. And so then you can see the pattern, and you're seeing where things are broken right now. Where you're going is you're going to start creating new institutions for yourselves, new ways of being, new ways of existing. You do not have at this point a reference for these institutions. You're going to be creating things that are brand new. And that's going to require you to work with frequency over form. In the process of manifestation, the way that most of you are taught is that you need to have a visual, that you need to think about that thing, what it looks like, and see yourself doing that thing. And that worked for you in the past, but where you're headed, you don't have a reference point. And if you're using the visual and you are aligning repeatedly with that visual, you're staying in the old box, because you're using the old image. So in the process of manifestation, it's important for you to focus on the frequencies that you want to experience. Your part in the process of manifestation, as you're co-creating with the universe, is to focus on frequency. The universe brings you the matching form. All right. So maybe you want to have an experience that allows you, say for work, something that's creative, that allows you abundance. Maybe it allows you freedom in terms of when you work. Maybe that's great for you. Somebody else, maybe they want to have something that's very fixed, very regimented, because that in their mind allows them more freedom, so that they know when they've got time to do other things. So for everybody, it's going to be different, but focus on the frequencies that you want. And then as you're working with being aware of the frequencies that are running within you and that you are perceiving reflected back, you will start to see situations and scenarios, opportunities show up, and you'll say, oh, that feels an awful lot like the frequency that I was holding earlier this morning. So let's go and engage with that because that feels pretty good. And that's when you step out to greet it. And you can step into opportunities that maybe you don't have a reference point now, you maybe never even dreamed of, but the universe says, all right, well, here's a matching resonance for you for what you're asking for. And by the way, we're going to add this in and that in and this other thing that you wanted, but before you weren't really focused too much on it. So there are all these bonus gifts that you get. It wasn't even on your radar for it to come in that package. And that's what's going to be happening and changing and shifting in the way that you all are creating over the next 16 months. But there will also be discovery that will come for you all to have an awareness of the control and the manipulation that's been happening behind the scenes. And we don't tell you that to scare you or upset you. I mean, you can see it very clearly just in your advertising, where there are those who understand the human psyche and how you think and how to get you to desire to buy certain things or to have certain experiences. It goes far deeper than that, but you can see it on a very surface level already happening now. And so you all are going to start to shift some of these programs and things that you've kind of taken for granted in the way society works. You're going to start to say, no, we'd like to work in a new way now. All right. So we're not sure exactly how that's going to roll out. We're very excited to see what you create. And it doesn't take the majority of you to be fully awakened in order for that to manifest. It takes a very small number of you. We think you've already crossed that threshold. Things are just kind of playing out at this point. We're not sure, again, how that's going to take hold, but we see you already crossing that line, as it were.
Thank you so much. I would be grateful if you could talk about if there are beings who live within the earth. So some of the ones I've heard of are the Telos. I've heard about giant ant people, and perhaps there's many more. Are there exotic life forms that live within the earth? And if so, who are they and why are they there?
So some, yes, live within the earth. Some live on the earth in areas that humans don't really go to. And that's why they're in some of these locations. And your governments are aware of some of them, not all of them. But yes, you have some of the Lemurian ancestors in Telos that exist there. And they've been there since the fall of Atlantis, really. They were on the surface. And then when you had the Great Flood, they went underground and they created, basically a multidimensional space for them. They've retained their higher knowledge and wisdom as humanity's general consciousness fell. And they're coming back up in terms of the knowledge and wisdom, the records that they want to share with humanity at this time, because you're now at a level where you can understand it and implement the information that they have to share. Earth is a grand experiment. And as you were saying at the beginning, it has thousands of worlds worth of genetic material donated to it. And there is a lot of life that you have not even discovered on your planet, in the oceans, in the far reaches of some of the deserts and jungles, places that humans don't always go. But some of them are on a very small scale to your human eye, but their level of consciousness is quite high, especially some of the aquatic life. And many of your stellar brethren are here to engage with this other life because they are connected genetically. And there's a beautiful thing that happens with that genetic connection. They can access Earth records through that genetic connection. You know, Earth is so special that there were some rules that were set up in terms of who could come and play and interact with humanity and Earth at this time. There had to be some limits placed on it. So only beings who have a soul connection, there's an aspect of their oversoul that has incarnated here, or there is a genetic connection that through the DNA donation, and those beings could interact here. Everybody else is kind of sitting, let's say, in the nosebleed seats. All right. They're just kind of watching what's going on. They can't really play down on the field, and they're not really interacting with the players close, or those close-up seats, as it were. So they're here to learn, to grow. There are many hybrid projects that are going on that have nothing to do with humans, but these beings are interacting and learning from their genetic family. All right, some of these other species, but it is varied, and as you grow up, as it were, as you mature in terms of your energetics, as you increase your frequency, you're going to start to become aware of your galactic family. Many of you already remember your connection to your galactic families. If you're listening to us, you have some level of awareness as we show up here and communicate with you. But you're going to deepen that connection, and probably somewhere in 2026, it will be more of a physical reality for you. It won't just be an energetic exchange.
How important, you alluded to our galactic family, our galactic lineage. How important is it for us to know our galactic ancestry? And if we explore it and there's resonance there, what can we do about it to incorporate it into this life in order perhaps to fully heal and to become way more of ourselves using that information?
Beautiful question. And there are two levels of this. We want to talk about it. So at the collective level, your galactic family, it is very important, because until you understand this galactic connection, you're not going to fully understand Earth history, because there have been ETs here who have walked among you, who've shared their knowledge, their wisdom with you, and a lot of that information has been suppressed. So it is important for the collective to understand your connection with the galactic family. And that will be happening as you move into probably 2026. Now, in terms of an individual, as they want to remember their orientation, and we'll say orientation because honestly, we want you thinking about yourself as a spark of the divine. We don't want you necessarily aligning with yourself as being, oh, I'm Pleiadian, I'm Syrian, I'm Arcturan, because that's just another level. We want you at the highest level possible to see yourself as that spark. Now, you might find as you go through life that there are times where you feel aligned with, say, the Pleiades or Sirius. What you're probably working on at that point is the archetypal patterns from those systems. That's the energy that you want to bring in and anchor. There may be gifts, skills, or abilities that you had while you were in that system that you want to bring back online, that you want to recall. And so you will start accessing the memories of that family, that stellar family. Or it may be that, say, there is a pattern of behavior that occurred in that system. For instance, Orion, that system was rife with control, manipulation, and trust issues. All right. It makes what's going on here on this planet look like child's play with the control and the manipulation. It was done at a very, very high level. So if you want to learn how to integrate that, you can go into the records of your soul family. And it doesn't matter whether it's a million years in the past or a million years in the future, because time is going on concurrently. There's no past, present, and future in the multidimensional reality. They're all concurrent. They're all going on at the same time. Past, present, and future is a construct of 3D. It's what allowed you to play under this illusion of separation. But as you increase in frequency, you're going to find that time becomes very malleable, and eventually it'll drop away altogether. We call time a marker for an experience. That's all it is. Think about the Dewey Decimal System on a book. It tells you where to find it in the library. And that's really what time is. It tells you where to find the record of a frequency for an experience. So you might find that you want to connect with their wisdom, their knowledge, their own process of integration so that you can very easily tap into it for yourself. If somebody hands you a recipe and how to bake a cake, it's much easier than if you just stand in your kitchen, never having baked a cake before, and said, well, maybe a little bit of flour, I don't really know, maybe some eggs. So you know exactly what goes into that, and you can follow their blueprint and how they achieved that. So that is a benefit of accessing those records. Now, how do you access those records? You go into your heart center. You ground yourself, connect with Mother Earth, put yourself in your heart center, think of something that makes you smile, and then ask. Ask for the information that you are seeking. When you specifically ask for information, as opposed to saying, what do I need to know? When you are more direct to say, I want to know information that will help me with this specific issue, it makes it much easier for those of us on the other side to assist you. Because we know that you're ready because you're asking. Otherwise, we have to look at how the information that we give you will impact you. We want you to have free will. We don't want to taint your experience by giving you information that you're not ready for or that will lead you on a different path. But when you ask, it makes it much easier for us to assist you in that way. And, you might find that at one point in your life, you always felt like you were aligned with Sirius, but all of a sudden that seems to be shifting within you. And all of a sudden, I'm very interested in the Pleiades. It may be because your archetypal patterns are also shifting and your focus for what you want to integrate is also shifting. There may be a skill, gift, or ability that you had when you were in the Pleiades system that you want to bring back online. So that might also be why at one point you felt very aligned with one system, but now you feel aligned with another. And you don't have to know what the first system you came into here was, because again, remember, time's fluid. But what you need to know is the frequency, the information that you want to connect with. And that will help you so that you can get it from the source that will help you in the most appropriate way.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. My last question is, as you are talking about the genetic soup we are, and I mean, essentially, we are hybrids, right?
Yes.
I mean, Yachiel are hybrids. The Sasani are hybrids. We're hybrids. Maybe we have got much more in our particular soup over the time frame for humanity. So how is that going to play into our going forward? What is our DNA specifically, being the soup that it is? How is that going to play out in the future?
Well, there is something very special about you as kind of this conglomeration of frequencies with all this genetic material. And that has to do with your ability to create and manifest. You have, how should we say this, kind of a stronger spark for creation than, say, other species do. So for you to consciously manifest your reality, it is actually easier for you as a human being than, say, some other species. This has to do with the genetic material that you've been given. It has to do with the emotional range that you experience. This is huge. We always say, when a being wants to work with emotions, they come to Earth. We call Earth the planet of emotions because along with the genetic material, you have the emotional experience of all of these different species, which gives you a wide range of emotion. There are other planets that, the species may have 6 or 7 emotions. That's it. And that's a little hard for you to wrap your brain around because, your life and your perception of reality is so different. But it also makes it much easier for you to go through this process of ascension because you've got lots of subtle nuances and ways to play things out. That also means that you've got these extremes of duality, and all of you have at some level experienced those lower frequencies, depression, anxiety, anger, frustration. When you have walked that, when you've embodied that frequency, it allows you to access compassion in a different way. And as you go through this ascension process, it is compassion that will be your gift to the universe, because you have all this genetic material and you're holographic in nature, which means what happens in one cell of your body happens to every molecule in the universe. The information is stored and shared. So as you go through this ascension process and you've got this genetic hybridization going on, that information is sent off very directly to those species, those beings, those civilizations. It's sent off to the entire universe. But think about it this way. You have a local library where there are a few hundred books, a few hundred records of information. And then you've got a large library like the Library of Congress, where there are many, 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 many books. If you only have a few hundred, it's easier to find something and utilize and access that, as opposed to you standing in a massive library going, I don't even know where to look for this. So this is what's happening with those that are part of your closer relations. It's much easier for them to access the records as you're sharing it holographically within their own energetic field. You yourself contain all the records of the universe, but you partition off your awareness of records that aren't really going to be utilized in this lifetime. Think about the operating system on your computer. You don't go into the programs, the records of how the computer works. It's not necessary. You have a different set of files that you work with on a regular basis. Everything else has kind of been hidden from you. And it's the same thing within your own energetic field. So as you're going through this ascension process and you're accessing a huge amount of compassion, that compassion is readily accessible by those that are of close relations to humanity. And some of these beings haven't been able to access that frequency, either because they have worked more with their intellect, they haven't really worked with the heart energy, or it's simply the intensity of the frequency of compassion that humans can access that makes it such a strong, clear beacon for them to hone in on, to access it within themselves. When that happens, it is a game changer for the entire universe. It creates a ripple effect through the entire universe. A lot of healing happens when beings start accessing compassion. So it is your gift to humanity, but it is also part of why there are so many beings who are interested in what's going on here, because as you ascend, because there have been planets and civilizations that have gone through the ascension process, but never in such a way that will have such a massive ripple effect through the entire universe and change the universal game.
I know we're going to be transitioning into this language of light and transmission that you promised us. Is telepathy and language of light, or light language, going to be the way we communicate in the future? How is that going to change?
Eventually, not for a while. You'll still use the way that you currently communicate, perhaps with more loving kindness, and you'll listen better, but you will still over time begin to develop your psychic and intuitive abilities and bring those online in a way that is gentle and easy, because you all have to work with boundaries too. You know, it's not going to happen this time the way that it has happened in the past, where it's happened immediately. This is going to unfold over a longer period of time. From our vantage point, it seems like, a snap of the finger. It's very quick. From humans' perspective, it's going to be a slower rollout. It's going to give you a bit of time to create a healthy boundary, because, if somebody's got some thoughts, and it's not that you immediately go to a higher level of consciousness and stay there. You're still going to kind of be going back and forth here for a while, but the overall collective energy is going to be, it's going to be much, 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 much higher. But, occasionally, as we said, you'll drop out. And you don't always want to hear every single thought that every single person is having. You have to learn control. You have to learn how to see yourself both as an individuated consciousness and then as part of one with all that is. That's the fifth dimensional level of consciousness. Right now, you're in the fourth dimension. It's a very malleable dimension. 3D has very fixed rules. 5D has very fixed rules. And to go from 3D to 5D, you needed an entire dimensional range. You needed something that was malleable so that at any point you could project 3D rules of the game onto the matrix or 5D rules of the game onto the matrix. And so this is why some of you will feel like you're having a fifth dimensional experience. You're one with all that is, you're expanded, and then you'll drop back out and you'll have more of a quote unquote 3D reality. But you're in 4D and you all are kind of working your way through to increase your resonance. And then eventually, once you can sustain it, you will transform your bodies and move into the fifth dimensional level. And you will move on from there. But it will be a period of transition. It's not an overnight transition for you all. But, in terms of the telepathy, you need to be able to hold that strong focus for yourself and not be triggered by it. You need to have had enough time to integrate and clear your own limiting beliefs to get yourself up there before you start reading everybody's thoughts. Otherwise, it's overwhelming. So it will come with time, but, and at different paces for everybody. But it has to do with you being able to hold a higher resonance. That also brings the psychic abilities online, but also to be comfortable in yourself, in knowing you and knowing your programs of lack, limitation, and separation, and being able to look at them and not be overwhelmed by what energies might be running beside you as you open up to a greater sense of all that is. All right. Does that help answer your question?
So much, so much. And I just want to thank you because as you're speaking, I'm receiving a transmission. And I also deeply appreciate your caring, compassionate way that you educate us and for coming as often as you do in whatever form or venue you do, that you're here for us. And that really means a lot because there are people like me here today and we're hungry. We're part of this. And I know we want to do the best we can. We came here for good at this time and to help out. And the information that you relay to us, you beautiful Pleiadians, we love you for it and we thank you for it and appreciate all you're doing to assist us.
Yeah, we have deep gratitude for all of you as well, because you teach us. We learn from you all. You really are the masters in integration. You all think that you're at the bottom working your way up, but Earth is a school of mastery. It's not an easy place to come. Only the masters get to come. Masters of integration, releasing judgment. And so here you are. We learn from you. So thank you, dear.
Yes. And if you would like to head in to the transmission, I will turn this over to you.
Yes. So we would like to do the language of light activation for you all. And for those of you who aren't familiar with it, it is a source language. It's comprised of light, sound, sacred geometry, and cosmic information. So there are carrier waves of frequency that are being shared with you in this transmission. And what it does is it helps you to find frequency within yourself. So think about it this way. Somebody asks you to sing the note of C. If you don't have perfect pitch, it might be very difficult for you to find that exact frequency. But if somebody plays the piano, they play that note of C on the piano and say, okay, sing this note, and you can reproduce it. You've got a reference point. And that's what the language of light is helping you to do, to attune your energetic field. So it's not necessarily us doing it. We're presenting you with the frequencies, but you are altering your energetic field to align with those frequencies. It speaks to you, the divine being of light, having this physical experience. So it bypasses the traditional language centers of the brain. So the ego doesn't get triggered or involved. And the soul knows it. The soul recognizes it. Now, as we work here, there are other stellar beings and galactic beings who are bringing in their energy, who are blending their energy with our own, with Wendy's, And the reason they're doing this is because, remember, there's cosmic information in that carrier wave. They're coming in because they have solution energy for you. They've walked the path that you are on, and they are providing that solution energy in the transmission. All right. So again, this really is to help you to feel empowered, for you to open up your intuitive skills, gifts, and abilities. So nothing you need to know or do. Just take a nice deep breath and we'll see where we go. Ishikado aramida birijukata patakatai, ira aramijukata aramine in the and or ashkatari, ima iribirijukata patakata, has ar imirijata ar biribijukata patakata birijugidi, he that biribika the birijukata patakata birijukata as a jetata arabika the birijukata pitakati, he's under erujukata patakata, jukata biribirimina and the katara arkotway, isana aishana katari in barabarushkata, has an minibijukata patakata birijugidi, he's at the arabika the birijukata patakata, has under Take a nice deep breath. We've got one more round for you. Is oh the he's on the ore hasa ada dudu imenibijudu meribijugada and the delu imenibijuum hasa on the dui meribijugada hasa ada arabijugati hisa atara. Take another nice deep breath. So, dears, this is where we'll leave you. Typically, what we recommend is that when you work with the language of light activation, you come back to it several times over several days, just to help you to become kind of attuned with the energies, so you can listen to the recording of this, or it is recorded in your energetic field, so you can imagine connecting with this a moment again, and that will realign you with this frequency, this essence. All right, so you don't have to physically hear it, although as humans, you like to hear things, feel things, see things, and that seems real to you, as opposed to you just aligning with the frequency within your own energetic field, with the records within your field. Both will get you to the same alignment, but sometimes it's easier because you think it's real, because that's, the five senses are what you use to define your reality. So know that there is a tremendous amount of support on the other side for you all. Many, many guides, beings who are just observing what's going on, who want to be of service. They will hear your pleas. Your guides always hear what you ask for, and they always respond. It's just a matter of whether you've got yourself in your heart center to hear, to receive the information that they have to share. Remember, ground, heart center, ask your question and listen. You can call on us directly. You don't need Wendy. And until we hear from you, we are around, we are watching, we are waiting, and we are sending many, many well wishes.